In the fading light of a nation divided, faces once lost to time return with vivid clarity. These are not legends or symbols. These were real men, captured in rare wartime portraits more than 160 years ago. Through careful restoration and colorization, we can finally see them as they were: human, young, determined, and forever changed by the Civil War. Welcome to a journey through history reborn. Captain Howell G. Whitehead, Company E, 55th Regiment, NC Troops. On April 1, 1862, Howell G. and James S. Whitehead, brothers and members of a prosperous Pitt County family, were appointed 3rd Lieutenant and Captain, respectively, and began organizing a company in Pitt County. Recruiting was slow, and it was not until May 30 that the new command joined the 55th Regiment NC Troops as Company E. In the meantime, on May 19th, James Whitehead had been promoted to Major of the 55th North Carolina and Howell to 1st Lieutenant of Company E. In June, Howell was reported absent with leave. He returned to duty and was promoted to captain on September 23, 1862. Major James S. Whitehead died on August 7, 1862. The fighting in the railroad cut west of Gettysburg of July 1, 1863, devastated the officer corps of the 55th North Carolina. The colonel, lieutenant colonel, major, and 5 of the 10 captains were killed, wounded, or captured. Nevertheless, the regiment participated in the Pettigrew Picket Charge of July 3, and Whitehead commanded Company E. "We had a great many men killed," he recorded in his diary. "I saw 1 shell explode and kill 5 horses and 2 men in 20 yards of me. I also saw a man strike who was laying flat on the ground. It seemed to raise him 10 or 12 feet in the air and literally shake him into..." Whitehead himself suffered a gunshot wound and was captured during the Confederate retreat on July 5 at Greencastle, Pennsylvania. Whitehead apparently remained at a field hospital in the Gettysburg vicinity until July 14th, when he was admitted to a federal hospital at Chester, Pennsylvania. He was moved from Chester on August 31, 1863, to Sandusky, Ohio, and from there to the prison for Confederate officers at Johnson's Island, Ohio. Whitehead was transferred to Point Lookout, Maryland, on March 21, 1865, and subsequently to Fort Delaware. He was released from Fort Delaware on June 17, 1865, after taking the oath of allegiance. Howell G. Whitehead, November 15, 1887, is buried at Maplewood Cemetery, Wilson, Wilson County. Private George Washington Lyon, Company H, the Caswell Boys, 6th Regiment NC State Troops. George Washington Lyon was the 4th of 10 children of Noel Lyon, a Caswell County shoemaker, whose 3 eldest sons were also shoemakers. George, born 1842, however, seemingly worked as a laborer on a nearby farm and was also a student. He was one of 90 men and boys who enlisted for 3 years' service in June 1861 in a company known as the Caswell Boys, subsequently Company H, 6th Regiment NC State Troops. In a letter from Camp Hill, near Dumfries, Virginia, dated September 13, 1861, Lyon informed his parents, "I have taken up the trade of cooking, where you may know I fare finely. I cook and wait on 3 of our boys in the hospital and help to cook for the mess. We have some of the hardest kind of laws here, but it is owing to being so close to the enemy. I think a great deal of our coal, William Dorsey Pender, later a major general mortally wounded at Gettysburg, has been to see me several times and would sit and talk with me a long time. He sent me something good to eat several times. He be liked by all the regiment. I think by the time the war ends, I will be a good cook.
Lyon fought at the Battle of Seven Pines, May 13, 1862, where he reported, "There was 13 of our company killed and wounded. I was not hurt, for which I fell to thank our Heavenly Father for His protection over us, for I never was brought to witness such a terrific scene before. For I believe that nearly every heart was uplifted to God, calling upon that most sacred and holy name for protection. Men who barely, if ever before, uttered a word of prayer. It was an awful time. The dead lay in large piles." Lyon himself suffered a shoulder wound only 4 weeks later at the Battle of Gaines' Mill, June 27, 1862, but returned to duty by November 1862. At the Battle of Gettysburg, the 6th North Carolina served in Colonel Isaac Avery's brigade, Major General Jubal Early's division. On the morning of July 1, 1863, Early approached Gettysburg from the north. Avery's brigade was placed on the left of the line, and about 3 p.m. the division advanced. Certainly the most famous member of the Caswell Boys was Private Bartlett Yancey Malone. His diary, "Whipped 'em Every Time," is well known for its detailed meteorological observations and pungent comments. The entry for July 1, 1863 reads, "The first morning of July we left early, and about 12 o'clock we got to Gatorsburg, which was about 10 miles from where we started in the morning. And when we got there, we found the Yankees was there. And in a few minutes after we got there, we were ordered to the field. Our brigade and General Hayes charged the enemy, and soon we got them routed and ran them through the town, and then we stopped. In our company, George Lyon got killed." The 6th North Carolina sustained 216 casualties at the Battle of Gettysburg, including 52 men killed or mortally wounded in action, 74 wounded, and 90 captured, of whom 45 were also wounded. Adjutant Joseph William Holden, 31st North Carolina Troops. Joseph William Holden was the son of William Woods Holden, an editor and politician who led the peace movement in North Carolina during the war. Young Holden, a cadet at the North Carolina Military Institute at Charlotte, enlisted in summer 1861 in a company known as the Auburn Guards, named after a community in eastern Wake County. On September 18th, the Guards were designated Company D, 31st North Carolina Troops, and Holden mustered in as First Sergeant. He was promoted to 3rd Lieutenant on October 4th and to Adjutant of the 31st North Carolina on November 27th. In December 1861, the 31st North Carolina moved to Roanoke Island, where it spent the ensuing 2 months building fortifications. 2 members of the regiment were killed in action during the bombardment and battle at Roanoke Island on February 7th and 8th, 1862, and 8 were wounded. 8 companies of the 31st, numbering 539 men, and including Adjutant Holden, were part of the surrendered garrison. The prisoners remained on Roanoke Island until February 21, when they were transferred to Elizabeth City, paroled, and returned to their homes. Paroled members of the 31st North Carolina were exchanged in August 1862, and the men were ordered to Camp Mangum near Raleigh for reorganization. Holden ran for captain in the Company D officer elections, but was defeated. Still under the age of 18, he enrolled at the University of North Carolina and studied there until spring 1863. Holden intended to return to military service, but his father, who had become increasingly prominent as leader of the peace movement, persuaded him to accept a job as a printer at the North Carolina Standard, the family newspaper. The Confederate conscription laws provided an exemption for printers, and young Holden spent the remainder of the war as a printer and journalist. Like his father, Joseph W. Holden was prominent in the bitter political strife of Reconstruction, North Carolina. When William Woods Holden became governor in 1868, Joseph assumed the editorship of the North Carolina Standard and was also elected to the House of Representatives, where he served 2 terms. He was elected Speaker of the North Carolina House of Representatives at the age of 24. In the early 1870s, Holden edited a newspaper in Leavenworth, Kansas, but his health failing, he returned to his family in North Carolina. He was elected mayor of Raleigh, but died from an alcohol-related illness in 1875. Holden was a poet of some distinction, and a posthumous volume of his poetry was published. His best-known work is Hatteras, which can be found online. Joseph W. Holden, September 30th, 1844, January 21, 1875, is buried at Oakwood Cemetery, Raleigh.
Lieutenant Colonel Thomas Lafayette Lowe, 28th Regiment, NC Troops. As a young man, Thomas Lafayette Lowe traveled from his native Catawba County to Charlotte, where he found employment as a clerk in the firm of Williams and Company. While there, he also acquired enough education to return to Catawba County and establish himself as a schoolteacher. It was remembered that Lowe also taught penmanship, which was remunerative. On August 13, 1861, Lowe enlisted at Newton and was appointed captain of the South Fork Farmers, subsequently Company C, 28th Regiment NC Troops. When the regimental officers were elected on September 21, 1861, James Henry Lane, a VMI graduate, former professor at the North Carolina Military Institute, and current lieutenant colonel of the 1st Regiment NC Volunteers, was chosen colonel. Perhaps surprisingly, Lowe, who seemingly had no previous military experience, was elected lieutenant colonel. Lowe commanded the 28th North Carolina during the difficult retreat from New Bern to Kinston, following the Confederate defeat at New Bern on March 13, 1862. He also fought at the Battle of Hanover Courthouse, May 27, 1862, during which the regiment lost nearly 275 men captured. Scarcely 2 weeks later, on June 10th or 11th, Lowe died of fever or pneumonia in a private residence near Richmond. In November 1862, Colonel Lane of the 28th North Carolina was promoted to brigadier general and commanded the brigade to which the regiment belonged, 7th Regiment NC State Troops, 18th, 33rd, and 37th Regiments NC Troops, until the surrender at Appomattox Courthouse. Lowe is buried at Grace Lutheran Cemetery, Newton, Catawba County.
Thank you for traveling through history with us. If you'd like to continue exploring the Civil War as you've never seen it before, be sure to subscribe and join us for the next restored chapter.